Did NASA really land humans on the moon, or was the entire thing staged? On July 20, 1969, the world watched as Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the lunar surface. Armstrong stepped onto the moon and delivered one of the most famous sentences in history. Millions celebrated, but not everyone believed it. A conspiracy theory began spreading that the United States had faked the moon landing to win the space race against the Soviet Union. And when you look closely at the photographs, some things appear strange. The flag. First, there's the American flag. Conspiracy theorists ask, how can a flag move when there's no wind on the moon? It certainly looks like it's waving. But there's a simple explanation. The Apollo astronauts had to rotate and push the flagpole into the lunar ground. That movement caused the flag to swing. And because the moon has essentially no atmosphere, there is no air resistance to quickly stop the motion. NASA also used a horizontal support rod to keep the flag extended, so it wasn't actually blowing in the wind. Where are the stars? Then there's another famous question. If they were really on the moon, why can't we see stars in the photographs? The moon has no atmosphere to create a blue sky, so shouldn't the sky be filled with stars? Actually, yes, the stars were there. But the lunar surface was extremely bright under direct sunlight. The astronauts' cameras were exposed for the bright surface and spacesuits. The much fainter stars didn't show up in those exposures. Take a photograph during the day on Earth and you can experience something similar. A bright sky doesn't necessarily mean faint objects will appear clearly. The shadows. Then come the shadows. Some photographs appear to show shadows pointing in different directions. Conspiracy theorists argue that proves there were multiple studio lights. But there's another explanation. The moon's surface isn't flat. It's covered with slopes, craters, and uneven terrain. Perspective can make parallel lines appear to diverge, especially in photographs taken across uneven ground. And the sun was the primary light source. The lunar surface itself also reflects sunlight, providing additional illumination. The Van Allen radiation belts. But perhaps the biggest scientific argument involves radiation. Earth is surrounded by the Van Allen radiation belts. Some people claim humans couldn't pass through them without receiving a lethal dose. So how did Apollo astronauts survive? Because radiation exposure depends on several factors including the intensity, the path taken, and the amount of time spent inside the belts. The Apollo spacecraft passed through the belts relatively quickly, and astronauts' measured exposure was not lethal. And then there's the biggest question. If NASA really faked the moon landing, how did they keep the Soviet Union from exposing the lie? Remember, this was the height of the Cold War. The Soviet Union was America's biggest rival. They had their own space program and powerful tracking capabilities. If America had claimed to land on the moon without actually going there, exposing that deception would have been an enormous propaganda victory for the Soviet Union. Yet the Soviet Union did not reveal evidence of a fake landing. And Apollo didn't happen just once. There were 6 Apollo missions that landed humans on the moon between 1969 and 1972. Astronauts brought back approximately 382 kilograms of lunar material, which scientists have studied for decades. And Apollo astronauts left scientific instruments on the lunar surface. Some of those instruments included laser retroreflectors, which allow scientists to measure the distance between Earth and the moon by bouncing lasers off them. There is also independent evidence. The Apollo spacecraft and missions were tracked not only by NASA, but by observatories and tracking stations outside the United States. So, was it fake? After all these years, there's still no credible evidence that the moon landings were staged. The famous conspiracy claims the flag, the missing stars, the shadows, and radiation all have explanations consistent with the physics and conditions of the lunar environment. But here's what makes this conspiracy so fascinating. The moon landing was almost unbelievable because it was real. In 1969, humanity sent people nearly 400,000 kilometers away from Earth, landed them on another world, and brought them home. No CGI, no modern smartphones, no internet, just mathematics, engineering, thousands of people working together, and an enormous amount of risk. Maybe the real mystery isn't, did we really go to the moon? Maybe the real mystery is, how did humanity accomplish something that still feels impossible today? The moon landing conspiracy isn't supported by the evidence, but it teaches us something important. Sometimes the truth can sound more unbelievable than the conspiracy. Humanity really did walk on another world, and perhaps that's the most incredible story of all. Follow for more mysteries, conspiracies, and the facts hiding behind them. Facts hiding